Here we go. You've all seen Carpool Karaoke. Well, this is Sam in a van. This is the first episode of Real Porridge, yeah? What with the lockdown and everything, things ain't got to plan. But you know what? I need to start meeting people and talking about things and putting it out there. So, me and this guy here, Jay, we used to work at Strangeways together. Only one of us had keys. Yeah, you're finding it hard to decide which one, aren't you? So this is Real Porridge, yeah? Criminal justice and mental health. This first episode is going to be with Jay. We'll probably break this down into quite a few parts. We'll probably have him as a regular guest. There's no editing, no bollocks, no bullshit. He is an ex-IPP prisoner, and because of that, and his current situation and where he's at, there's things we're not going to talk about now. And that's for his good, because anyone who knows about IPP prisoners, they can take them and lock them up with absolutely jack shit reason. I'm not bothered what anyone says, what probation says, and these official people who keep messaging me on Twitter and saying people don't get locked up for this. Well, let me tell you, I know it's different. Anyway, that aside, Jay, welcome.
Yeah, man. Good to see you, Sam.
Tell people why you're here, sat in my van.
Yeah, I'm sat here with Sam because he's dedicated he's a lot of his life to the criminal justice system. He worked in there, and in my time in there, you know, I got to know him quite well, working on the healthcare unit, and you know, as prison officers go, I think he's one of the best. You know, he did his job, and he took the time to learn about the people under his care, and you know, if he could help you, he would. And for one of the biggest reasons why I'm here is because in my talks with Sam, it changed my mindset. It changed my mindset in what I wanted in life. We had many a talk, many emotional talk, and
Trust me, we had plenty of chats.
yeah, and ever since that meeting Sam, it's been a hard road, you know, to erase the past, which you can never erase. But you know, I'm going forward in leaps and bounds and achieving a lot. And it started there. It started sitting there on the healthcare unit, talking to Sam every day, you know.
Right, Jay. Obviously, I know a bit about your past. We're not going to go too deep into that, but, you know, by way of introduction or whatever, just tell us a little bit about yourself, if you're comfortable with that, you know, where you grew up, you know, how you sort of fell into criminality or whatever, as much or as little as you feel comfortable with, mate.
Yeah, it's not a problem. Wow. My past, you know, from early age, I was born here. You know, my early memory, I was living with my auntie Enid and spending weekends with my nana.
Where did you live, mate? Where were you born?
I was born in Chertsey in Surrey, but we were living in South London. So that's where I grew up. But I spent my years in the care system. So I was on a full care order till I was 18. And that's how all this all started, you know, because I remember, you know, I came over here to live with my dad. And me and my dad didn't get along, so I only lived with him a few months.
Where did you come from, mate?
Came over from America.
So were you born in America?
No, I was born in England. But my mum married, what she basically done, she went to Germany. She started in Germany for a better life, speaks fluent German, was working there. I was living here. And she met an American soldier and married him. So we ended up flitting all over the world, you know, Wiesbaden Air Base, Fort Bliss, El Paso, Texas. My sister was born in Louisiana. And that was basically us. We was literally spending like 2 years in every place. And then
how did that work out for you, like your education, you know, stability, things like that?
I don't think it affected my education, but friendships and a sense of belonging, that's what it affected. Because you'd live somewhere for 2 years, you know, in harmony, family housing, you'd get all your friends, you go in school, and just when you just started getting used to it, it was time to move on again.
So would you say it was happy childhood?
No,
you know?
it wasn't. it wasn't, because obviously, you know, there was family issues, and I ended up in care in America as well. And then in the end, my mum sent me here to live with my dad because I was a handful. What it was, you know, I was very naughty, you know what I mean, and I was getting hidings and always in trouble, and no one could figure it out. And then you know, one day I went to the doctors, they had electrodes on me, and it turned out I had a hyperactive disorder. They had to cut sugar out my diet. I had to take 3 tablets a day. I think it was Ritalin, is it?
So
Ritalin?
yeah, Ritalin. So were you diagnosed like ADHD or?
Well, back then it wasn't. When I was
Just
diagnosed,
hyperactive.
ADHD is like the newer word. It was just a hyperactive disorder, they told me. And they gave me the tablets. I started getting good grades and things like that, you know. But the damage was done, and my mum sent me over here to live with my dad. And like I said, we didn't get on, and you know, I ended up having a Barney with him, and then I ended up in care. And
So how old were you then when you were in care in this
I was
country?
12, and I remember it because the moment I walked in that children's home and saw what I saw, it was crazy. And I don't know, it was something hit me, and it was like, for me, it's me against the world. You know what I mean? Because I felt very alone.
Roughly, so you can gauge what year was that sort of?
That was 19. I got put into care Christmas Day 1988. 1988, and it was a voluntary order at first, which then changed into a full care order. Yeah.
So, and how did you sort of fall into the criminality sort of? You know, where did that come from?
There was numerous reasons.
Did you not have a sense of belonging being in care? Because
No, you never get.
having worked in myself, right? I found the care system completely frustrating.
Yeah.
You can make a big impression on kids' lives. Some of the best times I had, it was 2 staff, 6 kids, yeah, 3 to 1. You take 3 kids out on your own. Sometimes the naughtiest, if you know, for whatever reason, and you could make a big difference, and you'd have a cracking day. You know, you take them out in park, do whatever, and they loved it. They were great. You get back with the other kids, and not so much them, but you know, some of the staff, there was a couple of staff that just hated them. And if you went on shift when them 2 staff had been on, you know, the kids were hard work, and it was sad. If you had them a full weekend, I did a couple of 48-hour shifts, because they were all 24-hour shifts, sleep-ins. I did a couple of weekends where I had them 48 hours. The difference was amazing. In school Monday morning, Waleed, if you ever see this mate, cracking lad, patience. You know, he got 6 kids. They were unruly. They were all different ages, different education levels, but it was amazing. But, you know, you'd have 2 days in school and he'd say, what have you done to them this weekend? What do you mean? They've been amazing. You know, and all he'd done is like spent time with him, listened to him, played cards with him, gave him a bit of attention. And then, like I say, you'd go on shift sometimes and, you know, they'd be really hard work, they'd be destructive.
Yeah. I can relate to that. You know, it's a bit like what you originally asked me, why I'm sitting in this van. Is in any government institution or any job, you got your good and your bad, and obviously I sit here because you were one of the good. But it was the same like in the children's homes. Yeah. You know, I'm going to say something very.
I'm just thinking, and can you let everyone know we are dressed below the waist, you know? and tell them where we are. Right, we're actually in Cheshire now.
Yeah, we're in Cheshire on.
Well, Miss Bradbury would say Cheshire,
Yeah.
but it's actually Stockport, yeah, and there's a big difference. So we're on an estate where Jay lives.
Yeah.
There's people walking past. I don't know. We'd probably stick out like a sore thumb, Jay. What do you reckon?
Yeah, definitely. The police will be here soon. That'll be another story.
Anyway, that's a
podcast.
little background.
Yeah.
Away we go. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, so it's the same what you're saying. So, you know, I'm going to say something very controversial here, but I'm in the children's home, and I realised it was survival of the fittest. And, you know, you said, how did I get into that criminal way of thinking? It was numerous things. You know, when I was growing up, you know, cops and robbers. I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be a soldier. I wanted to do a lot of things. But what turned me was being in the children's home. Then you had all the older lads.
Did you face racism?
Oh yeah, I've had racism
in the homes.
As a matter of fact, I was going to get to that. It was actually a beating of the police, where I was only young. They were beating me up to the point where I thought they were going to kill me. I was being called all the black bastards and everything. They got me to, after beating me, people were saying they were out of order. They got me to Croydon police station. As I walked in, the desk sergeant's there. One of the police, very clever move, pushed me from behind. So as I've gone lurching forward, they've all jumped on me like I was going to do something. Got me into the cell, was smashing my head off the floor. Now I was a kid, you know what I mean? My eye came out.
How old were you then?
Man, I must have been about 13, 14. And I'll never forget it. They did that to me. And I wasn't originally being arrested for anything. It was because I saw them, they were doing something to other people. I was walking past and one of the policemen elbowed me. I started challenging him on why he did it, and that was me getting a beating. And basically, I ended up in a court case, and I told the truth. I told him exactly what happened. So all these policemen,
I'm going to give a slight interjection now. We're going to carry on with this story, but knowing Jay, he's like me. In life, he's got involved in things he didn't have to get involved with, but because he's got a sense of justice. So I've no doubt what he's going to tell you now about this. He's getting involved in this, and it's because of that sense of justice. You either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
Away you go.
I was there. I told the truth about what had happened. I was only a kid. These policemen, they turned up in their finest. Not just the normal uniforms, pressed like they were in an army parade. And I'll never forget. It was a magistrate court. I told the truth, and basically, the judge's answer, the magistrate's answer to everything was, he would take the word of these upstanding policemen over my word any day. I was only a kid, and I felt a huge sense of injustice, which kind of, I don't know whether it's opening.
Did you feel hatred?
I wouldn't say hatred. I felt heartbroken. I felt hurt. That I told the truth, and that's how I was treated. And from there, that's when the pattern started, because then I started mixing with all the older kids in my children's home. We used to have a laugh. We actually used to ring the police just to get them out to chase us, to have a laugh. And then there was a girl, another thing, because obviously we're going to all the reasons. There was the thing about clothing. I know this might sound silly, but a lot of my friends and people in school, they had their mums and dads, they had the latest trainers, clothes. We were getting these what they call, like clothing grants. And, I'd have to budget it, or I'd have a member of staff with me, so I'd want to spend a whole lot on a pair of trainers so that I could be one of the cool kids. You do. But no, they wanted to split it up so I could get a couple of t-shirts and that, and I ended up with all the stuff that you just don't wear, where everyone's gonna bully you, and so that was another thing. I realized it's me again. I've got to make my own money. I didn't have my family doing anything for me, and then the push over the edge was, there was a girl living in the flat next to the children's home, and that was for young mums, like 40 who had children, yeah. And her boyfriend, Steve, one day, he was looking for someone to help him with his work. He was a removal man. And she suggested me. She said, well, why don't you bring Jay along? He'll love it. And I jumped at the opportunity, you know what I mean? So I'm there doing all these removals. And it was at the end of the day. It was time for pay. And I'll never forget the boss. He turned around and he handed me like £80. I couldn't believe it.
How old were you then?
About 13 or something like that. So I've been handed this £80, and I've looked, I was baffled. I was like, is that for me? They went, yeah, that's what you're getting every day. So this work went on for a couple of weeks, £80 a day. So what I was literally doing was coming, I'm only 13, I'm in a children's home. I was coming back, throwing it in my drawer. I didn't have a real sense of money then, do you know what I mean? And it was mad, because on a Friday or whatever, our idea of, having fun, we started experimenting with alcohol, cigs, weed.
Well, that's what kids do, isn't it?
And, But you can imagine now, I'm here now, I'm in the children's home, I'm 13, you got people there older than me, girls, and I'm coming home every day with 80 quid, so everybody's my friend now. And how it happened, my first real criminal operation was, I was making this money, I've gone round the twins' house, Yvonne and Yvette, and their mum used to sell weed. And I had my first spliff. And, I'm in this house and I'm smoking this weed and I liked it. But then I came outside and when the air hit me, wow, it knocked me for six. I'm literally crawling. And I got back to the children's home and there was a guy called Julian who was, he was a kind member of staff. He was really considerate and caring. And, for me, when he was speaking to me, it was like he was slowed down. He's like, you've just had your first spliff, like that. And, I don't know, I just remember it. And then he said, go and get some sleep. And I've gone upstairs. And what he must have done, he must have brought me loads of food up. Because all I know is I woke up the next morning covered in chocolate and all sorts where I'd slept and, rolled in it. Right.
Proper weed.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah. But then, that's when the magic started. That's when my first operation. The next morning, I thought that was amazing. And then I remembered, I'm looking at Yvonne and Yvette's mum. She's selling weed. And I remember her pulling out all this money when I was in the house. And then I realised I've got a drawer full of money. Let me see what I can do. And that was my first...
Buying weed.
And I went to her and I literally just took my money and went, what can I have for that? I ended up with a 9-bar.
For how much?
A ridiculous
Explain to
amount
people
of money.
what a 9-bar is.
A 9-bar is 9 ounces of cannabis resin.
It's like a unit, isn't it?
Yeah.
A little ingot of weed.
A bit bigger than that, yeah. But the thing is, for that money, I could have given her that money and she could have given me a £10 weed and I wouldn't have known the difference.
Fair dues.
But it didn't work. She was So I've ended up with this 9-bar at 13 years old. And even then, my mindset was, I can never let anyone know I've got this. So what I did was I bought a friend of mine in who was older, who lived on the end. So you had the children's home on Mickleham Way, he lived on the end. And I got him to hold it for me. And then what I would do is people would ask me, or I would let it be known that I had access to it. But what they didn't realise, it was me selling it. So I would be like, yeah, I can get that for you.
Well, that's quite intelligent at 13.
Well, yeah, well, is it? But...
Well, of course it is. You're not advertising it, are you?
No,
so,
no.
You must have had a bit of a...
Yeah, because I was in the children's home, I didn't want people knowing. But what would happen then is like someone would give me the money, I'd make out like I'm going to get it off the person, and I'd go to my mates and bring it back and put the money away, yeah? And here's the thing that's controversial. I ended up with a couple of social workers on my payroll, so to speak, because...
What, you were selling them weed?
Oh, yeah. Because...
You didn't
somehow
discriminate?
I didn't discriminate. And do you know what? When it first happened, because I was doing it, and obviously it must have... I don't think they knew I was doing it, but people must have said, oh, Jay gets good weed. So I remember Jenny, a lady called Jenny, she was like a biker chick, and she was only about 19. She was the first one that came to me, and she asked me. But for me, as soon as she asked me, it was like one of the movie moments where the screen pauses, and in my head I thought, gotcha. Because I knew then I could get away with murder now with this lady, because there's not a chance she could pull me about anything, because she's buying weed off a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
And she's Then the next person who came to me through Jay was a social worker called Gilly, an Asian guy, and he was buying weed off me as well. And that went well for quite some time, and the reason why I'm saying that is because it's down back to your first question. You had the inspirational stuff.
Yep.
Now, Gilly and Jenny buying weed off me, they were still nice people. But obviously, looking back now, as an adult, if I was a social worker, not a chance I'd do that, because it's wrong.
Would you have then, though?
What do you mean? If I was an adult,
would you consider any drug use is a no for social workers, or
what people do in their spare time? I don't want to be what people do in their spare time is up to them. But to buy, you're a social worker. Now I'm supposed to be looking up to these people because they've literally took the role of my parents because I'm living under government care. So to have members of staff buying weed off a 13-year-old, I don't think that's very good, no, because I wouldn't do it. Do you know what I mean?
No, well, it's not really, is it?
No, it isn't. And
so it's not so much that they're smoking weed; it's the fact that
they're buying weed off a minor, or all right, in their case, they didn't know it was me selling it, but they're still asking a 13-year-old. Now, what if I'd gone to get that weed for him and got pulled coming back?
So how much money were you making?
Met quite a bit.
And was that really you falling off the wagon then? Was that where your life of criminality started?
Yeah, it started there. But obviously as well, I had, I come from a Jamaican background. So, around me, I had good people and I had bad people.
Did you still see family members when you were in the home? Did you have
if I went to look for him, yeah. If I went to look for him, but that was another thing that didn't sit well with me. They didn't come to look for me. I'd had to go and look for them.
Are them people in your life now still? Some of them, any of them?
Do you know what? The only person that I really speak to from my family is my nana. The rest, I ain't got a problem with them, but I've got used to doing things on my own.
Yeah.
And that's where I've ended up in trouble because I've always been a bit of a loner and I had pride and I found it hard to ask somebody for £20 or for £100. I found it hard. And because of that pride, I'd go out and get it myself rather than ask, at 18, well, I'll even go one better, 15, I wasn't getting on with the foster parents that they